Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our morning coffee time for Wednesday, October the 7th. How's everybody this morning? How's everything looking and sounding? Can you see me and hear me well enough? Okay, well, thank you for the feedback. And also, thank you for the many people that sent me messages yesterday. It was encouraging to hear that for some people, 7 a.m. would actually work better. And I'm sure that would maybe be even more so for the people east of the Rockies here in North America. So despite that, though, things are picking up pace here, especially with one of my top priorities, which is to get my new kuti, the hut that I have intended for quite a while now to have built to spend my sabbatical in. There's been lots of delays for various reasons, but yesterday I was able to meet with Scott and our friend Jean-Marc and the builder who's going to be working on it, and things are moving quickly right now. So that, in addition to chores and administrative stuff and preparations for the sabbatical itself, which is just weeks away at this point, is taking up a lot of my bandwidth. So today, sadly, is going to be the last day that we have a morning coffee time for now. And it may be the last one until I come back from my sabbatical, which is a bit open-ended. So that's some probably sad news for some people. I know I will miss the opportunity to connect with people and offer my thoughts and my experience of Buddha Dhamma and practicing as a monastic in the Ajahn Chah tradition. It's been started off as a wonderful experiment, and I think it's generated benefit for many people, and I think myself as well. So today be putting the morning coffee time on indefinite hiatus. So there is some possibility things will change, so stay subscribed and maybe keep the notifications on. I'm looking at doing something once a week, if that sort of works out, but there'll be so much going on. We have to do kind of a radical clean and reorganize of the Hermitage and the spaces here, and so I can't make any promises. I will be continuing the morning and evening meditation and chantings. So I have not been doing the evening for the last little bit, but I'm going to start up here at some point. And anything I do will be scheduled on the channel, so people will have some notice if you want to tune into that and you find that useful. So I've been talking with the various people locally who give alms, and after 6 months, it seems like the conditions are suitable to resume walking bindabat, or walking for alms, which is a very important part of our lives as monastics, and that's especially so here at the Hermitage. We've still had regular donors and almsgivers coming to the Hermitage and participating in various ways to donate food and keep the monks fed and cared for. But I miss my morning walk through the local community and there's more to alms than just receiving food. Being present in the community and accessible, visible, as a reminder of the samana and as a reminder of this dimension of our human life that seeks goodness and seeks peace. Is part of what we do and how we live, and to resume taking up that practice is important to me, and it feels like the time has come to do that. So starting tomorrow, I'll be walking daily in the community. Saturday and Sundays, we still have meal offerings, and there's a few on the calendar still, so might not get back to full 7 days a week right away, but we'll be moving in that direction. It's something of a difficult decision for me to make. I wish I had the bandwidth to keep this going. And in some sense, the debate that's been going on in my own mind is what kind of minimizing the effort and energy it takes to do this. Saying, well, it's only a half hour, but then there's all the other stuff, scheduling and taking care of things. Like this morning's a fine example. Just 10 minutes before starting, the microphone stand broke, and it's just barely patched together and working right now. And also it is a challenge to take care of the other things that I do and have the spaciousness and availability to be a wise guy live on the internet. And I don't know that I always succeed in manifesting my better self, but it's a good challenge to let go of any sense of undue self-concern and focus on the opportunity to give and share my experience. And to the people that I've met through this around the world, it's been a pleasure, and I hope we'll meet again sometime soon, online. Even better would be offline someday. The focus of my life since moving to the Hermitage has been decidedly local, and I enjoy that. Living in the forest on the edge of a small town, and being of this place, and being here and being available for people that want to come and visit the Hermitage and make offerings and help out in various ways and share this life of Dhamma, and this seeking of truth, in particular the truth that leads to peace and understanding. And hopefully the benefits of this time and this experience, coupled with a good long spell of practice during my sabbatical, will lay the conditions for further opportunities to offer things in the future for people. So it's been a joy and a pleasure, and I appreciate everybody's participation and attention and good questions and feedback and support over these last 6 months. It's truly been a blessing. I don't feel like I'm really leaving you high and dry. There are so many of my friends and teachers making offerings online these days, and I expect a lot of that to continue. In fact, a few of you have jokingly complained about the difficulty in making decisions about which puja to tune into, which Dhamma talk to listen to. So, and that's a fortunate problem to have. Okay, well, I will spend some time here. I do have to get out and receive people bringing food offerings for my meal today, but I will see if I can hit all the questions here before 8:30. Okay, let's start off with a 3-part question from Shira from Israel. I feel that my overall practice is too much dependent on my samadhi. If I just miss my daily serenity practice for 2 to 3 days, I start feeling almost like a drunk person. My mind isn't clear, and it lessens my ability to practice the other 7 path factors. It even interferes with my sila practice. It's frustrating to realize that without this daily dose of meditation, there is not much left from years of practice. Is that the way it's supposed to be? So, good question, Shira. I don't know if I would say that's the way it's supposed to be, but I think your experience is all too common. The maturation of the path and the path factors, and the role that samadhi sort of plays in supporting or maybe even lubricating our ability to sort of practice Dhamma effectively is crucial and critical. There's something in your question that makes it sound almost like a chore. And perhaps I'm wrong there, but if it is, you might want to look at that. Even after his enlightenment, the Buddha delighted in samadhi. So our efforting, if not fully kind of purified, of course, does create some heat and friction and does make it feel like a chore at some point, but part of cultivating our practice is learning how to keep purifying that. And although it does take energy and effort, samadhi should be pure joy. And at some point we want to purify our relationship to it so that that's the case. I guess the other thing that might be going on here is just the gap between the ideal and the actual. And it's tricky because we need ideals, we need aspirations, and we need some level of evaluation and discrimination, examining sort of how it is that we're practicing, how is that things are working, what's not working, where adjustments need to be made. So, this is a perfectly good question to ask of oneself. Why is it that what is the role of samadhi? And why is there such a dependence upon that in relationship to the ability to practice or even manifest the other path factors in our conscious experience? But we have to be on guard of attaching to that process and those evaluations through the framework of self. Try to be open and objective when engaging in that analysis. And don't identify with it. Be patient and kind and willing to practice from where you are and not get stuck in this kind of gap that we talk about sometimes between the ideal and the actual. The ideal is our pole star, our guide star, but the actual is the only place that we can practice, and that's where we're at. And frustration or confusion or any negativity that we generate around that is just creating extra friction or extra obstacles that are keeping us from moving towards the ideal. And the role of samadhi is so profound in enabling the rest of the practice, including sila. And it's a worthy topic for consideration, like looking at the interrelationships between the different path factors. And there is this kind of interdependence there. So practicing good sila supports and nurtures the conditions of our life to practice and nurture samadhi. And samadhi enables us to keep sila and perfect our virtue. There's a place in the suttas where the Buddha is talking about the Eightfold Path, and he makes some sort of declaration about a teaching that includes these 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. I declare, and then this is my little translation, is fully supportive of the experience of awakening. And it's a statement that he has that I like for several different reasons, because in some sense it seems a little bit more open than other more declarative sort of things, where there's a few things in suttas where the Buddha's talking about this is the one path. But in this passage, he's talking about the path factors as being like, these are the important ingredients and constituents and factors that one needs as support for full awakening. And it reinforces all these other teachings that are really speaking to this very naturalistic sort of view of spiritual practice, and even more profoundly of the experience of conditionality and how things are not self. And it's just with various causes and conditions, this comes to be, this exists, this ceases, with a change of conditions and causes. And there's a deep interrelationship between these various path factors. It's no accident that they're overlapping in various ways and intertwined in various ways. And some of the retreats that Ajahn Sudanto's been doing with the Pacific Hermitage group over the last few years, he's been focusing a lot in on these interrelationships between the various factors of the Eightfold Path. And I think it's wonderful to go back and review those if you're not familiar with those. Partially because he gives maybe more emphasis than many teachers in our tradition on the role that Samadhi plays. And I think does a very good job of exploring some of the connections that it has to the other path factors. And remember, one of the primary benefits of Samadhi is it suppresses or weakens the power of the hindrances. So if we have a profound experience of Samadhi, it profoundly suppresses the hindrances for a period of time. And the mind is fit, malleable. It's in an optimal state to sort of practice and move through the world in alignment with Dhamma. But even if we're not satisfied with how unprofound our samadhi is, it's still working in that direction. It's weakening the hindrances. It's undermining the hindrances. It's removing some of the nutriment that they exist dependent upon. And that's part of how it empowers like the cultivation and the support of the other factors of the path. So I hope that's a helpful answer to your question there. Good question. Should we meditate during particularly tumultuous, I can't say that word this morning, tumultuous emotions, such as distress, anger, depression? How can we delineate clearly a boundary for when it wouldn't be beneficial? Well, Sonny, expand your concept of what it means to meditate as a skillful engagement with the mind, trying to resolve unskillful thoughts and emotions and arouse and replace them with skillful thoughts and emotions. And if you have that kind of broader understanding of what meditation is, it's mental cultivation. Then meditation is especially what we need to engage with when we're suffering from distress, anger, depression. How does we engage with the mind? That may need to sort of change. If you're just overwhelmed with some of these more profoundly challenging sort of emotions, obviously you can't just go sit and breathe through them. You might need to sort of engage the mind in some more physical way, more practical way. You might need to talk yourself down. You might need to cheer yourself up. Like if there's depression, then just sitting with it hour after hour, trying to follow your breath, trying to dissipate it, might not be the most effective thing. Finding ways to cultivate energy and joy, maybe through the cultivation of generosity, the uh, cultivation of some of the new satis, like arousing faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, practicing generosity and service, creating wholesome positivity through being of service to others and practicing generosity, or other ways that you might kind of uplift the mind. So I don't know about delineating a boundary, but it's more like bringing uh, some sort of appropriate strategy to how it is that we can start to um, resolve these emotions that are sabotaging our sense of well-being and keeping us from being our better selves. Chanting, listening to Dhamma talks, studying Dhamma, those are other things that one might be more beneficial to sort of move the mind along. Ajahn, if you could share how people could help, I am sure everyone here would love to volunteer and help in any way we can. Could people come over and help build the kuti? Well, that would be wonderful. But what I've found over my years as monk is it's not so easy to get people to help. Not that people don't want to help, but with such a small operation, it's hard for me to set things up in a way that people can always plug in and help as they would like to. So, and we're still in this time of the pandemic, so even how people can help with various things is a bit limited. So, but that's a question I've been working on for a few years. I would love to find other ways that people could help so that myself and the other monastics can stay as focused as possible on deepening their understanding of the Buddhist teachings and putting it into practice. That's job one for us. Um, in addition to just looking after the monastery. So I appreciate the sentiment, but it's not so easy for me to actualize. And I think we have sufficient funds, and we're able to hire a contractor to do the work, but some of it has to be done by me, like some of the planning, and then some of the administrative stuff that I have to do right now, and preparations for my sabbatical so that others can take on my responsibilities. It's not so easy to farm those things out. We will miss you, Ajahn. I've been happy to attend, wish you all the best, and looking forward to see you again. Thank you, Henning. Same to you. All the best. Hopefully we'll meet someday. I can imagine a time where I get back over to Europe to visit the monasteries there. How would you recommend someone spend a sabbatical as it relates to practice? Something more scheduled or structured, or should you play it by ear? Well, my tendency is to advocate something that's scheduled and structured in some way. But the last sabbatical I had, which I spent a year doing solitary practice up at Birkin, and the encouragement that Ajahn Sona gave me was not to schedule myself, not to overschedule myself, and just trust the motivation that I've cultivated over the years to understand Dhamma and practice Dhamma. And I did have structure, like I had made determinations about how not to distract myself, and I put a lot of restrictions on engaging with other people and speaking and distracting myself, even to the point like I didn't want to just read Dhamma too much. So like I was reading suttas, but I would limit that to something about like 45 minutes a day, or I was memorizing, chanting and memorizing suttas, but again, I was limiting how much I did that, because I can get pretty obsessed and busy with some of those things, and it robs the the time for practice, or the spaciousness that is even helpful just to surround a practice schedule with. But that's after many years of being a monk, decades of being a monk. So one of my Thai teachers sort of said, when you live with the group, you should practice like you're alone. When you live alone, you should practice like you're living with the group. And I thought that was really useful advice. Because like when you're living in a monastery or living with a group, it's a bit easy to get too caught up and focused on what others are doing, right, wrong, comparing yourself with others, the various problems or the dramas that might arise in the community and community life. So maintaining that sort of sense of it being inwardly directed and not overly engaged in the world. Kind of taking responsibility for your own suffering, I think is part of that too. And then when living by yourself, practice like you're with the group. And part of what he was referencing there is, when you live in a monastery, there's usually a pretty strict schedule of morning and evening chanting and meditation and chores and stuff. So like living alone in the forest, don't get lazy. Maintain a kind of energy and a discipline, and establish commitments to your practice and to the path of cultivation. What teachers do you recommend watching or listening to? So many. Well, Christine, I'll just name a few, and please, all of my friends, forgive me if I don't mention you. But the Buddha, it's never probably been easier to directly engage with the word of the Buddha. And that might take a little research and investigation, but reading the word of the Buddha, I think, is very important. And it should be the gold standard that we measure the teachings of anyone else by. The Buddha said so directly. Just because and that includes me, especially me. Just because I say it, you you should not believe it. Take it on provisional faith, reflect upon it, measure it against your own experience, but even more so, measure it up against the word of the Buddha. So, and I don't really consider myself a teacher. I consider myself a good friend or a Kalyanamitta. The Buddha's the teacher. So the Buddha, I mean, I still find the teachings of Ajahn Chah, even in translation, to be amazing and useful and accessible. So I would point people to that. Lumpur Samedo, Ajahn Amaro, I find have been very useful for my own practice. Lumpur Pasano, Ajahn Jayasaro, Ajahn Sona. So this is a very biased answer. These are amongst my sort of favorite teachers and the ones I resonate with. So I would direct you to check those out. And please don't read anything into the people I have omitted. I mean, there's so many more that are worth listening to and drawing near. Eleanor had an idea of setting up a Facebook page or something else for this group to stay connected. If you're interested, could you stay back on the chat after the talk ends? So that would be wonderful. I won't be able to participate in it. I don't use Facebook. We have an agreement in our community not to use Facebook as monastics, but that can be a great way for people to stay connected. It's one of the things I thought about, just thinking about stopping the morning coffee time is it's been a very useful forum for people to meet and offer some good cheer and support to each other. So if you're inclined to stay connected, please do so. If I can help connect people too, I'll do my best. We could post something on our website, Sharada. If you get something set up, share it with me, and then I can post something on our website so that people could go to pacifichermitage.org and find out how to connect in that way. So, okay, it's really overtime. I got to get going. But have you visited Aruna Ratnagiri? I have. Beautiful monastery. It's very nice to be up there and visit the community. Okay, and I think I already addressed this, Eleanor, but sure, you can go ahead and create a Facebook group. Just making sure that it's not mine. Just the Pacific Hermitage Facebook group. All right, friends. Well, we shall meet again someday. Don't know where, don't know when. And I will be continuing the puja live stream, so you can see me tonight at 6 p.m. or tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. West Coast time. And if you live in the Gorge or in the Portland area, by all means, please come out and visit. I'll be here till early December, and then I'll be at Abhayagiri for 3 months. And then hopefully my hut will be under construction early this spring, and I'll be here overseeing that while I'm on sabbatical, and by early summer it should be done, and I'll be in it for the remainder of my sabbatical. So, all right, be well, everyone. Till next time. Bye for now.